The air is thick with the scent of popcorn and sweat, a humid haze hanging over the neon-lit circus tent on the outskirts of Chiang Mai. It's June 12, 2024, and the crowd is restless, their cheers rising like a fever as the spotlight carves a golden circle in the darkness. A lone figure stands in the center, whip in hand, his silhouette framed against the crimson curtains. His name is Danny Navarro, the self-proclaimed Tiger King of Thailand, and tonight, he promises the performance of a lifetime. The drums roll, the crowd leans forward, and a low growl rumbles from the shadows, a sound that isn't part of the script. In the next heartbeat, the world turns red. A scream splits the night, and the spotlight catches the glint of claws, the flash of teeth. The circus is no longer a stage. It's a battlefield. I'm Lisa Campbell, and for 20 years, I've chased stories where the line between human and wild blurs into something primal, something that forces us to confront who we are when the cages are unlocked. This is the story of Daniel Navarro, a man who believed he could bend nature to his will, and of Raja, a Bengal tiger whose rebellion against captivity would shake a nation. It's a tale of ambition, hubris, and the cost of exploiting the wild for human entertainment, a cost paid in blood under the bright lights of a Thai circus. What happened that night in Chiang Mai wasn't just an attack, it was a reckoning, a moment that exposed the fragile illusion of control we cling to when we put wild animals on display. Daniel Navarro was 38 years old, a wiry, sun-weathered American expatriate with a crooked smile and eyes that burned with restless ambition. Born in Fresno, California, to a family of modest means, Danny grew up on a steady diet of Hollywood adventure films and tales of big game hunters. He wasn't the kid who wanted to be a veterinarian or a zookeeper, he wanted to be a legend. By his early 20s, he'd bounced from job to job, car salesman, stunt double, even a brief stint as a rodeo clown, before landing in Thailand in 2015, chasing a dream of fame in a country where exotic animal shows were still a draw. Danny found his calling at the Golden Lotus Circus, a ramshackle operation on the fringes of Chiang Mai that catered to tourists hungry for a taste of the Wild East. He started as a ticket taker, but his charisma and fearlessness caught the eye of the circus's owner, a grizzled Thai businessman named Somsak Phan. By 2020, Danny had clawed his way to head trainer, branding himself the Tiger King of Thailand on social media. His Instagram reels, him wrestling playfully with tiger cubs, cracking a whip in a sequined vest, or staring down a snarling adult tiger, racked up millions of views. "No one knows tigers like I do," he'd say in his videos, his voice a mix of bravado and charm. "They're my brothers, my family." But those close to Danny saw cracks in the facade. His assistant, Ploy Suk, a 24-year-old local who fed the animals and cleaned their cages, described him as a man obsessed. "He loved the spotlight more than the tigers," she told me in a hushed interview at a Chiang Mai cafe, her eyes darting nervously. "He'd push them, Raja especially, harder than he should. He'd say, 'They're performers, not pets.' But I saw how Raja looked at him. It wasn't love. It was something else." Danny lived alone in a rented bungalow near the circus grounds, his walls plastered with posters of himself posing with tigers. He had no wife, no kids, no ties to anchor him. His life was the circus, and the circus was Raja, the star of his show, a massive Bengal tiger whose presence could silence a crowd. To Danny, Raja wasn't just an animal, he was a ticket to immortality. Raja was a 9-year-old Bengal tiger, a 500-pound marvel of muscle and instinct with amber eyes that seemed to hold secrets older than the jungles of Thailand. Born in a breeding facility in Kanchanaburi, he was sold to the Golden Lotus Circus as a cub, his life mapped out before his eyes could fully open. By 2024, He was the circus's biggest draw, his name splashed across billboards in garish yellow, Raja, the king of the jungle. Tourists paid 1,500 baht a head to see him leap through flaming hoops, balance on a pedestal, or, Danny's signature trick, open his jaws wide enough for Danny to place his head inside, a stunt dubbed the kiss of death. But Raja's life was no fairy tale. His cage, a 12 by 12-foot steel enclosure behind the tent, was barely large enough for him to pace. His diet, scraps of chicken and pork, often days old, was supplemented with sedatives to keep him docile during shows. Veterinary records, obtained through a whistleblower, showed untreated wounds on his paws and a chronic respiratory infection that made his breathing labored. He was a prisoner, said Dr. Anong Chayaporn, a Bangkok-based wildlife veterinarian who consulted on Raja's case after the incident. Tigers are solitary, territorial animals. To confine one to a cage, to force it to perform, it's a violation of everything they are. Raja's behavior had been deteriorating for months. Handlers noted he'd grown listless, refusing food or lashing out during training. Danny dismissed the signs. "He's just moody," he'd say, cracking his whip harder. But Ploy saw something deeper. Raja's eyes changed, she told me. They weren't empty anymore. They were angry. June 12, 2024, was a sweltering night, the kind where the air clings to your skin like a second shirt. The Golden Lotus Circus was packed, nearly 800 spectators, mostly Western tourists and Thai families, crammed into the bleachers. The show was in its final act, the grand finale where Danny would perform the kiss of death with Raja. The tent buzzed with anticipation, the crowd's energy a living thing, pulsing under the flickering lights. Danny strode into the ring, his sequined vest catching the spotlight like a disco ball. He cracked his whip, and the crowd roared. Raja emerged from the tunnel, his massive form moving with a grace that belied his size. But something was off. His tail flicked erratically, his ears pinned back. Danny, caught up in the moment, didn't notice. He raised his arms, signaling the start of the trick, and the drums began their crescendo. "Come on, big guy," Danny said, his voice amplified by the microphone clipped to his vest. He knelt before Raja, grinning at the crowd, and coaxed the tiger's jaws open with a gentle tap of his whip. The audience held its breath as Danny leaned forward, his head inching closer to Raja's gaping maw. For a moment, it was perfect, the kind of image that goes viral, the kind that makes a man a legend. It wasn't the rehearsed growl Danny had trained him for. It was a sound that seemed to rise from the earth itself, a primal bellow that drowned out the drums. Before anyone could react, Raja's paw shot out, a blur of black and orange. His claws, each the length of a man's finger, raked across Danny's chest, tearing through his vest and into his flesh. Danny staggered back, blood blooming across his shirt, but Raja wasn't done. With a second swipe, he caught Danny's shoulder, sending him sprawling into the sawdust. The crowd screamed, a chaotic wave of sound that matched the chaos in the ring. Handlers rushed forward, brandishing poles and shouting, but Raja was a force of nature now. He lunged, his jaws closing around Danny's arm, dragging him like a rag doll. For 10 agonizing seconds, the tent was a nightmare of noise, Danny's screams, Raja's growls, the crowd's panic. Finally, a handler fired a tranquilizer dart, and Raja collapsed, his massive body slumping over Danny's broken form. Paramedics swarmed the ring, but it was too late. Daniel Navarro was pronounced dead at Chiang Mai Ram Hospital at 11:47 p.m. His injuries were catastrophic, a shattered collarbone, a punctured lung, and massive blood loss from lacerations to his chest and arm. Raja was sedated and returned to his cage, his fate uncertain. The attack made headlines within hours. Tiger King torn apart in Thai circus horror, screamed the Bangkok Post. American trainer killed by own tiger in shocking show, blared CNN International. Social media erupted, with hashtag Tiger King tragedy trending worldwide. Clips of the attack, captured by dozens of cell phones in the crowd, spread like wildfire, amassing over 50 million views on YouTube alone. The footage was gruesome, yet millions couldn't look away, a testament to our morbid fascination with the collision of man and beast. The Thai authorities launched an investigation, focusing on the Golden Lotus Circus's safety protocols and animal welfare standards. The circus was shut down pending review, its owner, Somsak Fan, issuing a terse statement: "We are devastated by the loss of Daniel Navarro, a talented trainer and beloved member of our family. We are cooperating fully with the authorities." But insiders painted a different picture. Ploy Sri Suk, who quit the circus days after the attack, told me, "Somsak knew the cages were too small, the animals were sick. He just wanted the money. Danny was his golden ticket." Animal rights groups seized the moment. PETA Asia issued a scathing press release: "Raja's attack was not an act of malice but a desperate cry for freedom. Circuses are no place for wild animals." Protesters gathered outside the circus grounds, holding signs that read "End Animal Slavery" and "Justice for Raja." The Thai government, under pressure, announced a review of all exotic animal shows, though critics doubted it would lead to real change. Danny's family in California was shattered. His sister, Maria Navarro, spoke at a press conference, her voice breaking. Danny loved those tigers. He thought he was giving them a better life. He didn't deserve this. But not everyone was sympathetic. On X, users debated fiercely. "He played with fire and got burned," wrote at WildTruth88. "Tigers don't belong in cages," posted at Animal Live Now. The polarized reactions mirrored a deeper divide: were animals like Raja victims of human greed, or were trainers like Danny reckless thrill seekers? Raja's fate hung in the balance. Initial calls for his euthanasia sparked outrage, with a Change.org petition to save him garnering 300,000 signatures. Ultimately, he was transferred to a wildlife sanctuary in northern Thailand, where he now lives in a larger enclosure, far from the spotlight. "He's calmer now," Dr. Chayaporn told me. "But you can still see it in his eyes, the memory of that night." The tragedy of Daniel Navarro and Raja exposes a truth we've long ignored: the entertainment industry's exploitation of wild animals is a ticking time bomb. Circuses, zoos, and marine parks sell us a fantasy of dominion, a world where humans can tame the untamable. But every whip crack, every cage, every forced performance is a violation of an animal's nature. Tigers like Raja are apex predators, born to roam vast territories, not to leap through hoops for our amusement. When we strip them of their agency, we invite disaster. This isn't just about circuses. It's about a culture that commodifies the wild. From SeaWorld's orcas to Instagram influencers posing with sedated lions, we've normalized the idea that animals exist for our entertainment. The global exotic animal trade, valued at $20 billion annually, thrives on this mindset, supplying circuses and private collectors with creatures ripped from their natural habitats. In Thailand alone, over 1,500 tigers live in captivity, many in conditions that would break your heart. Raja's rebellion was a symptom of a deeper disease, one we've all enabled by buying tickets, liking posts, or looking the other way. The incident also raises questions about the human cost. Danny Navarro wasn't a villain, he was a man chasing a dream, caught in a system that rewarded spectacle over safety. The circus industry, particularly in countries with lax regulations, exploits trainers as much as animals, dangling fame and fortune while cutting corners on training and welfare. Danny was under pressure to push the limits, Ploy told me. Somsak would say, make it bigger, make it crazier. He didn't have a choice. How many more Dannys will pay the price for our appetite for thrills? I've covered over 300 human-wildlife conflicts in my career, from shark attacks in Australia to bear maulings in Alaska. Each story leaves a mark, a weight I carry long after the cameras stop rolling. But Danny's story hits differently. Maybe it's because I saw myself in him, a dreamer who believed he could conquer the impossible. Maybe it's because I looked into Raj's eyes when I visited the sanctuary, and I saw not a monster, but a creature who'd finally had enough. As a journalist, I'm trained to stay objective, to report the facts and let the story speak for itself. But as a human, I can't help but feel complicit. I bought tickets to zoos, shared videos of dancing elephants, laughed at memes of animals in costumes. We all have. And every time we do, we tighten the chains on creatures like Raja. This story forces me to ask, when did we decide that our entertainment was worth more than their freedom? And what does it say about us that we keep building cages, knowing they'll eventually break? I keep thinking about Danny's final moments, the look in his eyes as Raj's jaws closed around him. Was it fear? Betrayal? Or something deeper, a flicker of understanding, a realization that he'd crossed a line nature wouldn't forgive? I'll never know. But I do know this, Danny's death wasn't just a tragedy. It was a warning. On a quiet hill in northern Thailand, Raja now roams a sanctuary enclosure, his scars hidden beneath his striped fur. He'll never leap through a flaming hoop again, never feel the sting of a whip or the weight of a crowd's expectations. But he's not free, not truly. The jungle he was born to rule is a distant memory, replaced by a fenced-in approximation of the wild. And Danny Navarro, the man who dreamed of being a legend, is gone, his story reduced to a viral clip and a cautionary tale. As I stand at the edge of Raja's new home, watching him pace under the monsoon sky, I'm reminded of a quote from John Muir, "In every walk with nature, one receives far more than he seeks." But what happens when we stop walking with nature and start demanding it perform for us? The answer lies in a blood-stained ring in Chiang Mai, in the roar of a tiger who refused to be tamed, and in the silence of a man who paid the ultimate price. Some cages are made of steel. Others are made of dreams. Both can break.